I want to give you an overview here of Form I-9. I want you to look right now on the screen. So basically, here is how the form looks like. So we're speaking about employment eligibility verification, and this is a U.S. CIS sort of document. So in section one, you have to put your last name, your first name. You have to put your other last names if you have used those in the past. So it's really important to be transparent here. You got to put your address, city, town, zip, everything, and the state, of course. You got to put your date of birth, your U.S. Social Security number. If you're a green card holder or if you are a citizen, you have a Social Security number. You have to put your employees, the employee's email address, and also the telephone number. This is for the U.S. CIS. If they have questions, they can actually reach out to the employee. And the thing is that at the bottom of that, you have to specify what kind of situation applies to this employee. So in our case here, we put a citizen of the United States, but this could be a non-resident. It can be a non-citizen. It can be anything. Okay. And so section 3 here, a lawful permanent resident. This is actually a green card holder. And so that's the first screenshot. So here and so as the form actually states, if you actually check section 4, you have to put the specific document that really is applicable to this situation. Second screenshot I want to show you here is basically this is section 2, and so you have to actually list the documents that you submitted to your employer. So you have list A and list B. And you also have list C. So list A actually is stronger. So you have passports and all that kind of stuff. So in our case here, we put the U.S. passport. That's the document that we submitted to our employer when we are applying for work. And the issuing authority here, of course, is the U.S. State Department. And you have to, at the bottom of it, you have to put the date of the first day of employment and today's date. And you have to put the last name, first name of the authorized representative or even the employer. And that's it. And also put the company, everything, and also the address. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So I was talking to you earlier about the list A, list B, and list C. And I want to really drill down a little bit on that so you have a clear idea, because when we talk about the I-9, list A is, as I said, list A is the stronger list. List B and list C also strong, but you got to have a combination. You got to have one document in list B and one document in list C. I want you to look right now on the screen. This is what really happens here. You can have a clear idea. So what I'm talking about. So list A, you have a passport, you have you have a green card, you have you have employment authorization document that contains a photograph from the IRS, of course. And so that's for list A. You can see on the screen. And list B, you also have a list of documents that really fall into list B, and you have what you have here for list C. But for list B and list C, you got to have one of those. But for list A, only one document is sufficient. Okay. I want to show you also here the second screenshot here. You have acceptable receipts. So you will need to have, if you really need to have that. If you are actually asking for the employer to really authorize your employment, then you might have to submit some receipts before getting employment. The third screenshot I want to show you here is actually supplement A. But this is for a translator that prepare and or a translator certification for section 1, just in case the person who completed section 1 is not the actual candidate. If you did it for somebody else, then you have to really certify. So that's the first screenshot. And this is the second screenshot here. Again, this is a legal document, so make sure that everything you see on a government form is accurate to the best of your ability. Now I want to show you supplement B. So this is actually the re-verification and rehire. So basically, every now and then, the U.S. CIS wants employers to re-verify and rehire certain employees. But the thing is that companies have to follow a certain protocol to make sure that they are abiding by the law. And I'm showing you the second screenshot here. So this is basically, again, a continuation of the first form. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about the Form I-9. Let me give you a general presentation here. So when we talk about the Form I-9, it's important to have a clear idea what we are really speaking about. So basically, I mean, if you're hiring a new employee, whether they're your first hire or not, you really want to make sure that you are complying with the law, right? And so what is Form I-9? I mean, if when we talk about Form I-9, we are speaking about employee citizenship status and eligibility for employment in the United States. And so you got to complete this upon hire of a new employee. And so nearly all employees in the US must fill this out. Okay. They must fill this out. This is really important. So the purpose is pretty clear. It's to actually make sure that people who, that's the people who are working in the United States are qualified. I mean, they do a valid reason to actually work in the state, whether they're citizens or green card holders, or they have any other types of visa that allows them to work in the United States. And so when we talk about Form I-9, sometimes people contrast that with Form W-9. Now, Form W-9 is also considered a component of the paperwork required when you form a new working relationship. The difference between Forms I-9 and W-9 is twofold. Form W-9 is filled out by independent contractors, whereas a Form I-9 is required only for new employees. And Form W-9, similar to Form W-4, is used for tax reporting purposes. And so this is kind of important. And one thing I want to say here is that as I'm talking about Form W-9, let's talk about Form W-4. Now, Form W-4 and Form I-9 are similar in that they're both considered part of the new hire paperwork also, meaning they need to be filled out whenever a new employee is hired. The key difference between the two is the information they include. Whereas Form I-9 is designed to verify an employee's employment eligibility, Form W-4 is used to determine payroll tax withholding amounts. Okay, so when you think about W-4, think about payroll tax withholding amounts. When you think about I-9, think about employment eligibility. Let me dig a little deeper here in terms of the transparency requirement of a Form for Form I-9. Why do employees need to fill out this form? Well, the thing here is that everything goes back like 30 years ago or even 40 years ago for that matter, because in 1986, the United States passed the Immigration Reform and Contract Act, and the new law made it illegal for U.S. companies to knowingly employ undocumented immigrants. So as part of the act, the U.S. CIS, and this used to be called Homeland Security back in the days. So they placed the responsibility of verifying a new employee's citizenship status and eligibility to work in the U.S. squarely on the shoulders of all U.S. employers. So Form I-9 was created to enable employers to verify that information and to establish a mechanism for U.S. CIS to check in on employee eligibility to work. So from that, the list of acceptable documents to certify employees' citizenship and work status was laid out. So at least now, companies have a clear idea who is authorized to work in the United States and who's not authorized. And so the thing here is that one thing I want to say here is that in terms of responsibility to you as an employer or as an employee, the law is pretty clear. In short, for an employer, if you are hiring a new employee, you need to have them fill out Form I-9 as a part of their new hire paperwork. You need to collect the acceptable documents to fill out Section 2 of the I-9 form yourself. Okay, so one thing I want to say here is that when we're talking about responsibility here, the transparency is on both sides. So on the employee and also the employer. And the U.S. CIS also outlines a few notable exceptions to Form I-9 requirements. So individuals who perform casual domestic work on a sporadic, irregular, or intermittent basis are not required to fill out Form I-9 or provide acceptable documents to verify work status. Employees who are not physically located in the United States, for example, remote employees, are also not required to complete Form I-9. And independent contractors do not require an I-9 form. Okay, so this is important. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form I-9. I want to drill a little deeper. When we talk about Form I-9, I want to explain to you the different sections of that form. Okay, now on Form I-9, you have Section 1, Employee Information and Attestation. So basically, this is the employee that's required to complete personal information and attest to his or her employment eligibility status. So as an employee, you must provide your full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and immigration status if applicable. Okay, and the employee must also indicate their citizenship or immigration status, and if necessary, provide additional information such as alien registration number, USCIS number, Form I-94 admission number, or foreign passport number, and country of issuance. So this is kind of important, and the employee must sign and date this section automatically. So this is kind of important. And Section 2 is actually about the employer or authorized representative review and verification. And Section 3, as you saw a little earlier, it's about the re-verification and rehires if applicable. So Section 3 is really interesting because it is used in certain situations, such as when an employee's work authorization has expired, when an employee is rehired within 3 years of the date of the original I-9 was completed, or when an employee's name has changed. So the employer must complete this section by examining the new or updated documents provided by the employee, recording the information in the appropriate fields, and signing and dating the form. Okay, so this is kind of important in terms of your ability. I want to show you on the screen here once again so you have a clear idea what I'm talking about. So I'm showing you on the screen here Section 1. So you can see this. Section 1 is the employee and employee information and attestation. Okay. And so Section 2, as you can see on the screen here, Section 2 is the employer or authorized representative review and verification. You can see this on the screen here. So bottom line here is that it's all about transparency. Everything revolves around transparency. And one thing I want to say before closing on this session here is that when we talk about the new employee actually must fill out Section 1, which includes personal details and establishes their stated citizenship status and employment eligibility as a citizen of the U.S., a non-citizen national of the U.S., a lawful permanent resident, an alien authorized to work. Okay, so it's really pretty clear there. Now, when we talk about Form I-9 forms, as an employer, so if you are an employee, once you actually fill out that form and you give it to your employer actually has to do a couple of things. Okay, so the thing is that once you actually have the completed form, you have to send it to the IRS, of course, and so you must keep an I-9 form for each employee at the ready. So what happens here is that if you have an official from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, or you have somebody from the Department of Labor or Department of Justice, if they ask you for it, you must be able to furnish an I-9 form for every current employee. So you don't have to file it, you just have to archive it. Okay. Now, generally, you should retain Form I-9 for each employee for 3 years after the date of hire, or 1 year after employment is terminated, whichever occurs later. So it's one of those things, again, in the spirit of transparency, when I have a clear idea. Now, there are actually some common mistakes to avoid while filing the I-9 form. So when filing the I-9 form, which is used to verify the identity and employment eligibility of individuals for employment in the United States, you want to actually be aware of certain errors. So failure to complete all sections, that's a biggie. That's a big error that a lot of employers make. So make sure that you do not fall in that trap. And so using an outdated version of the form, So the thing is that USCIS, Department of Homeland Security, which is actually under USCIS, they occasionally update the I-9 form. So it's crucial to use the current version. So you want to check the USCIS website to ensure you have the most recent version available. You might have incorrect or missing information also. This could be problematic. Or you have late completion of the form. So the I-9 form must be completed within 3 business days of the employee's hire date. Failing to complete it within the designated time frame can result in penalties for non-compliance, and also accepting invalid or insufficient documents, and failure to re-verify work authorization, inadequate record keeping, discrimination during the verification process. So it's one of those things again where you want to be on the good side of the law. And there are also some some implications in terms of retention and storage of I-9 forms. So the retention period, as I said earlier, basically is 3 years. And so for former employees, it's actually 1 year. And the storage format can be electronic or paper, not a problem, okay? And the good thing is nowadays you have electronic I-9 systems. So you are able to verify employment eligibility in a pretty straightforward manner. One thing I want to say here is that when we talk about the I-9 form, obviously in terms of compliance, you got to really go by the deadlines and due dates, okay? Now, the due dates are pretty straightforward. As I said earlier, it's 3 days, 3 years, and 1 year. So completing the form, the employee must complete section 1 of the I-9 form no later than the first day of employment. In terms of verifying documents, the employer must review the employee's original identity and employment authorization documents and complete section 2 of the I-9 form within 3 business days of the employee's start date. In terms of retaining the form, employers must retain the completed I-9 forms for each employee for a specific period, and the general rule is to keep the forms for either 3 years after the date of hire or 1 year after the date of employment ends, whichever is later. So it's important. But you want to note that different rules apply to certain situations, such as I think I told you earlier, like if an employee is rehired within 3 years of their initial start date. So it's one of those things where you have to pay attention. So now there are actually possibilities of audits and penalties. And so audits and penalties can be imposed on employers who fail to comply with the requirements of Form I-9. And so audits, basically the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, which is a part of Department of Homeland Security, is responsible for conducting audits of employers' Form I-9 records. And these audits are typically referred to as I-9 audits or worksite enforcement investigations. And so the purpose of an audit is to ensure that employers have properly completed and maintained Form I-9 for their employees. And this is kind of cool. And what happened during an audit is pretty straightforward. So ICE may request to review an employer's Form I-9 records, including the forms and any supporting documentation. The ICE may also conduct on-site inspections to verify the authenticity of the documents provided by the employees, and the audit process involves a review of the forms for technical and substantive errors and the identification of potential unauthorized workers. And the penalties are pretty stiff, okay? They go from $200 all the way to $12,000 per violation. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I just spoke to you about Form I-9. And let me do a quick recap of the conversation. So I gave you the overview, the presentation, and now I'm doing the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.